Hello everyone, Mopar Dad 84 here with the Sinister 6. I know it's been a minute since I did a video. Some people I know has asked for another video. I haven't done any more mods since the last videos, and that's part of the reason. Another reason, of course, I've just been busy. You can see on there the car's rolled over 100,000. The only thing I had to replace other than, maintenance stuff was recently the drive shaft, because I put new tires on. I did the brakes myself, and I took it in to get it aligned, and I had it looked at because I could feel something was, when you stick it in gear, it'd like jump a little bit, and it turns out the carrier bearing on the drive shaft was completely shot. It had been probably for a while. I'd been driving, I didn't know what, I didn't know it. And it seemed like it was shifting a little bit harder, so I had that changed. And supposedly it's a one-piece unit. So if the carrier bearing fails, you got to replace the whole drive shaft. Of course, it's like $900 and something, and that's something that Mopar could have did a little better on for sure. They could have made it serviceable, or you could just replace the carrier bearing itself. They do have like aftermarket things, but that's just going to replace the rubber, and if the bearing itself's bad, it's just going to blow the rubber out real quick again, so it's not really going to do you any good. So that's why I had the whole drive shaft replaced, which really, I guess, if you consider 100,000 miles, that's the only thing you had to change on the car, that's pretty good anyways, but still was something I didn't think I would have, expense I didn't think I'd have. But I just been driving it back and forth to work. Like I told you guys, that's why I got the car. That's why I got a V6. You can see she's getting like 28 average, still at 100,000 miles. She's still getting good gas mileage. And I know they rate like the 5.7 at like 25 highway, but if you drive it every day like I do, you'd probably get about 15 average if you're lucky. I had the Hemi before in my Ram, so if you do any town driving at all, or if you try to accelerate at all with it, it's just going to suck gas down like a Banshee. One little throwback to my truck, I had an 07 Ram I bought brand new in Florida with the Hemi. I love that truck. I love the Hemi. A lot of people ask why I don't like the Hemi. I love the Hemis as much as the next person. I got the V6 because I'm going to drive it every day. I'm going to put a lot of miles on it. As you see, 100,000 miles. I plan to put 300,000 miles on the car. And if I had like a Hellcat or something like that, I wouldn't want to put that many miles on it. You know what I mean? So the V6 just suits, there's a place for each, model, depending on, what you're doing. And of course, you could have a Hellcat and drive it every day if you're okay with putting that kind of miles on the car. That's more of a collector car. This isn't as much of a collector car. If I had a Hellcat or something like that, Scat Pack, it would be sitting in the garage 90% of the time, which is the case with most people that have them kind of cars, because they don't want to put miles on them. They don't want to run it on the weekend, that sort of thing. I got the V6 because I want to drive it every day. I have almost economy car gas mileage, but I have still really good performance, I believe, when I hit the throttle. Now if you're somebody that used to driving a Hellcat, you wouldn't think the V6 has good performance, but if you grew up in I was born in the 80s. The V8s back then didn't even make 200 horsepower. So for me, 305 horsepower is a good performing car. And I've said in previous videos that when I was growing up in the 90s, I'd be looking at, the cars that I wanted still didn't make 300 horsepower. Z28 Camaro, 94 Z28 Camaro. When I would have been about 10 years old, these are the cars I was looking at, watching videos on and Motor Week and stuff like that. And a car made, I think, and that's a 350 5.7 liter V8, 275 horsepower. They had less than 300 horsepower, still in the mid 90s. So that's why I'm pretty happy with 305 horsepower out of a V6. But yeah, it just suits me. It's, you know, everybody's different. You know, you could definitely daily drive the 5.7 or the Scat Pack. You're just not going to get anywhere near the numbers that I would with the V6. And if I was staying steady and not as much stopping, and I'd be averaging higher. You still will average around 30 if I'm not stopping a lot and turning a lot, because my commute's mostly 55. And I do have a little bit of highway and a little bit of town driving. But I just wanted to shoot a quick video out there because I know it's been a while. Another thing I wanted to add there, I have gotten a couple different vehicles. This is actually the only Mopar now, which is crazy because I had 3 and they were all Mopars. But of course the Ram, it was really old. It was rotting apart because of the salt up here in the north. So I sold that truck cheap just to get rid of it, because the lines were rotting off of it and everything constantly. I had to fix something on it just because of the salt and the rot, the rust is all. The truck itself mechanically was decent, you know, other than it needed brakes and everything, but the lines and the body and everything were rotted off. The other one was our van, our Chrysler Pacifica. We hit a deer with it, and it ended up being totaled out. Even though it wasn't like a ton of damage, they still totaled it. So we got a new vehicle. It's a Chevy Traverse, and the reason we went for that is because we were looking at Jeeps. I wanted to get a Jeep Cherokee because we need a big vehicle. We need something that seats 7 or 8 people, but we didn't want a van again, because we had trouble with the sliding doors. You always have trouble, no matter what the make is, you're going to have trouble with those sliding doors. You know, if you get a Jeep Cherokee fully optioned out, it's going to run you in the 80s. You know, and our Traverse is fully optioned out, top tier, and it's 50. You know, so there's a big difference there. So if we would have if we went and bought the Jeep Cherokee, it would have been a base model for that price range. So, I mean, it's a pretty easy decision there. $30,000 difference to get a vehicle that's fully optioned out versus a vehicle that's baseline. You know, I did like how the Cherokees were built a little better, because one thing that surprised me, I originally thought they were a body on frame, but they're unibody as well. So you're really there's not a whole lot of reason why they're that much more expensive, other than, you know, they're just charging way too much for those vehicles, and it's going to start to come back to bite them, because a lot of people are going to buy something else and save that $30,000. Because you're probably looking at a difference of $300-400 a month extra on your, you know, payment or more, just to have the Cherokee. And it's still a unibody. So it's not really, you know, a whole lot more. I can understand the Wagoneer being more, but now you're looking at, if you get a Wagoneer, even base, it's about $100,000, I think, for the base on those. It's running up there pretty quick, or mid tiers $100,000. So it's like those are way overpriced. They're pricing themselves, I think, completely out of the market, to where you know, they're not really going to sell very well. And that's the thing. I mean, you know, they've come a long way. Chrysler has, with their quality, and Dodge and Ram. It's my 07 Ram I bought. They used to complain about the interiors being really cheap. Well, they fixed that, but the prices went way up on those vehicles, and it's gonna come back to bite them, I think, on that. You know, but I mean, again, with the Challenger, it's not going anywhere. I plan to keep this and keep running it, keep fixing it. If something goes wrong, fix it and keep running it. As far as the engine and transmission, it seems still pretty sound, and so plan to keep running it and putting the miles on it. You see, my mileage went up again as we were cruising, but we hit a stop sign, so I had to stop again. And I reset my mileage before the video. I did because I think it was showing about a 25 average, but I was starting and letting the car idle a lot with the remote start. So it wouldn't have been accurate to what I was getting, because a lot of the mileage goes way down when it's sitting there idling, not going anywhere, of course. So it wouldn't have been very representative of what it is actually getting. So I wanted to reset it when I went on the trip to work this morning. So it's more accurate versus just showing you a mileage that's just the car, mostly just the car sitting and idling, is why it was only 24, 25. It was somewhere in there. Even like just this morning I remote started it just so it's not really, it's warm enough now I don't really need to. I mostly have that for in the winter, but I still like to let the vehicle warm up a little bit before I take off. And that's the other thing, the car still runs the same. I mean, you know, the takeoff is still the same as it had been, you know. 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds. That's really good, I think, for a V6 Challenger, because of course they are heavier than the Camaro and the Mustang. And I just got bolt-ons that you could do in your driveway, in your garage. Nothing too crazy. Anybody can do it. I've shown how to do them in the videos. So I mean, these are just basic bolt-ons on the car that you can do. Anybody can do it. So I mean, for the performance it has, I think it's really good. I hope to go to the. I know I keep saying it, to the drag strip. I haven't taken the car yet. The 07 Ram I talked about, I took it to the drag strip, and it's a truck. And I ran a couple times. I won both races. It just, you know, depends on who lines up beside you, you know. I beat a little Mazda car, and I beat a Mustang with my truck. I ran a 15.9 in the quarter. That's a big, heavy, I think it weighed about 5,500 pounds. But it was two-wheel drive, because I used to live in Florida, so I didn't need four-wheel drive. And she'd hit 0 to 60 in about 7 seconds, I think. But on it, I had an intake, tune, and exhaust on it is all. This has more stuff on it. So that's something I hope to do this year, and that's another reason why, you know, when I found out the drive shaft was wobbling around, so basically, you know, the mechanic showed me a video where he's lifting it. You know, it had like a ton of slack in it, where the carrier bearings just completely blowed out. There's no rubber in there no more. And so I wanted to tighten that up before we go down the drag strip 120, 130 miles an hour, depending on, you know, if it's a quarter mile or half mile. But it'll be a fun time. Had a lot of fun with running the Ram. It was pretty awesome. But that'll be it for this video. Oh, I was gonna say I got another truck. That's the other vehicle, and it's a Nissan. I think I said too in another video that I'm a Mopar guy. I will always be a Mopar guy, but I'll drive anything, you know. So I got a good deal. I was looking at Ford F-150s. I was looking at Chevy's GMC trucks. I was looking at Dodge trucks. It was just whatever I could find that was cheap and didn't have a ton of rust on it, that wasn't falling apart like my other truck. And I ended up getting a Nissan Frontier, a 2013, so it's only a couple years older than the car, and it was way cheaper. It was like half the price of every other truck I was looking at, pretty much. I got it for like $6,900. So I mean, that was a good deal, because they booked value. I think it booked, when I looked up Kelly Blue Book, it was like $12,500 or something like that. But I haven't really seen one on the lot for less than $15,000. It looked about the same as mine, and I've seen them as high as $21,000. So I mean, lot can ask whatever they want, you know what I mean? But you're hard pressed to find one below 15. Usually trucks right now are extremely high valued, you know. And then a lot of the trucks I would see on a lot that still had rust issues. One of them, the tailgate wouldn't go down. They still wanted like $15,000 for it. The tailgate was so rusted and corroded and grody that the tailgate wouldn't go down. So, I mean, and they still wanted 15 grand for it. And they were older than the truck I got, and they wanted more money for them. So it's like, when I found that, now it wasn't without its little faults, and I seen why too, that I got it as cheap as I did, because he threw a couple options at me. He had a Tundra that the bed was rotted out of, and he had that Nissan Frontier, and he said 7,900, and then he comes back with 6,900 if I wanted the Nissan. I'm like, why is he trying to get rid of it cheap? Well, I found out right after we left with the lot, it was stalling out. It was just quitting. It wasn't like it was started sputtering or anything. It just shut down, so I knew it was something like electronic. Well, one of the crank sensor was bad, and I think they knew it was bad, but they didn't know what was bad. They just probably somebody test drove and it did it to them. So I think that's why he was eager to get rid of it. He had a couple guys, mechanics, that work on vehicles, but they couldn't figure out what was wrong because it wasn't throwing a code. So I started watching YouTube videos, got on forums and stuff, and it's very common that those sensors go bad. Either the cam sensors, there's 2 cam sensors, one on each side of the engine, and then the crank sensor. So, and they say to replace all 3. It was like $175, and boom, it was fixed. It runs great. You know, the truck, I could tell on the test drive, still had a lot of power left in it. It's a good running little truck. It's a 4-liter V6, and they're geared really well. You can feel it on the first couple gears, because a V6 wouldn't be that torquey in a truck unless they were geared good. And it's got way more power than the Ram that I recently had, but that Ram only had the 4.7 liter V8 in it. And I've said in other videos, they only make about 230 horsepower in that year. They did up it later on, but then they dropped it for the V6, the Pentastar. Anyways, the Pentastar's a way better engine than that 4.7. The Hemi is, in the pickup truck, is the best option. I do like the new Hurricane engine, but I don't think it should be in the trucks or the SUVs. That should be something in a sports car. The 3-liter inline 6 turbo. I think that's an awesome engine, but I don't think I would want it in the pickup truck, because I think when you're pulling with it all the time, if you pull a lot with it, it probably won't last, because the turbo is going to be engaged all the time, and the turbo puts a lot of stress on the engine. That's just what history has shown, unless they've built that engine really well. I would rather have the Hemi in the truck or the SUVs, the big SUVs, the Wagoneer and that, but they're throwing that inline 6 and everything. We'll see how it holds up. I think it'd be great in a sports car, but I don't think it should be in the trucks or the SUVs. But like I said, I love the Hemis as much as the next person. If I was to buy a new truck, that's what it was going to have, a Hemi. I was going to have to eat the gas mileage, which really the gas mileage ain't much difference than the inline 6 turbo. Especially when you're pulling. I've watched videos. I think the turbo, the inline 6 suck more gas when you're pulling, because the turbo's engaged all the time. So I think, longevity wise, I think the Hemi lasts a lot longer than that inline 6 turbo. But so that's going to be it for me rambling on today. We'll have some other videos of this car. Maybe I'll do some videos of the other 2. For now, Mopar Dad 84 out. Thanks for watching.